Hey guys, welcome. In the last tutorial, I said we'll be talking about cross-control lines in the next video. So here we are. In this video, we want to go through doing these cross-control lines for some 3D basic shapes and some general explanations and basic rules to make it easier to understand. And then in the next video, we'll be having some examples and do some advanced drawings to explain how you can implement this to your actual drawings. Cross-control lines in drawing is a practice that is helping us become more observant about the objects we draw and showing us how to best represent their three-dimensionality on a two-dimensional surface. Contour is a French word means outline, and the basic contour drawing is essentially an outline of an object. The focus of contour drawing is the outlined shape of the subject rather than the details. We will be adding values to these basic shapes that we've already created, but only with lines and just getting used to how they work and just be able to visualize the shape even more. Okay, let's get into it. So what I'm going to do now is to look at these basic shapes and explain how to do this cross-control line technique based on the characteristics of each one of these shapes. Let's just start with the cubes. So what we're going to do now is to draw some lines so that you can see the other sides like the back planes. Just imagine you're drawing a glass transparent cube. We work with cubes and cuboids in our previous lessons. We had lots of these tutorials where we were dealing with cubes, so I mentioned this many times that how it is to draw a transparent cube. I also want you to cut the shape into half using guidelines because the whole purpose of this practice is to divide the shape into several sections to help us find different planes. These lines help you to have a better understanding of the shape you're working with. So find a midpoint on each surface. Contours are used to depict the mass and volume using simple lines. These lines convey three-dimensional depth, length, width, space, distance, and perspective. Cross contours can be both horizontal and vertical, like the latitudes and longitudes on a globe. This is something that allows you to see all the faces and surfaces of the shape even though they may not be visible. It's like doing meshes on the subject you're drawing. Doing these meshes is like dividing the shape into several sections to help us draw an accurate and proportionate object. And this division can be based on light and darkness or color range or the different planes and surfaces that we have in the shape. So for example, when you draw a shape, the back parts of the shape aren't visible. So adding these meshes gives you a better understanding of the form and the structure that the shape has. This will come in useful later on in this class. I'll show the back planes with dashed lines and the front plane lines will be bolder to make it clear to understand. So for the cubes, it's going to be based on the vanishing points. For example, for this one, I get a vanishing point over here somewhere. So that is the cubes. Let's jump onto the cylinders now and try the same thing with a cylinder. With straight lines, the cylinder looks flat. Some beginners might then try to create a curve without understanding its reasoning. This line also looks wrong because it is too shallow. We need to imagine the form as transparent and draw through it. Imagine that your line goes through the surface across to the other side. Cross-contour lines will be perpendicular to the axis the form takes. It's easy for cylinder-shaped objects, especially if you have a solid basic cylinder shape like this. Our contour lines guide the eye in depicting how round the sides look while the top is flat. You can experiment this on a glass cylindrical shape you have around you, something transparent like a jar, to see how it actually is in the real world. If we look at it like this, we see just a straight line because it is placed exactly on the horizon line in this picture plane. But if we tilt it a little bit, we see the line all around the shape as an oval. And the more I tilt the jar, the bigger the oval will be. The cone is pretty much like the cylinder, and we draw the same ovals inside the shape to show the roundness of the cone. But the only difference is the pointy head of the cone. So the ovals get smaller as they go upwards, just like this. Again, I'm going to darken the front lines and some lines here to turn this into half. And for this section as well. The pyramid, on the other hand, is quite much like the cubes because it has a flat surface. So instead of using ovals, we need to draw some straight lines based on the perspective and angle of the shape. Let's move on to spheres. So we got a few circles here. Let's take a circle and draw straight contour lines. As you can see, it turns it flat. But what if we draw curved lines? Let's draw a curved line for one of the diameters. This makes it look like a curved dish. But when we curve the lines across the form, we can create the illusion of a sphere with just a few lines. Imagine the form as transparent and draw through it. This drawing looks like a ball and is much more convincing than the others. Again, let's imagine you're looking at it straight on. And that's going to be the shape. But let's say, for example, you're looking at this from an upwards direction. You get to draw a line all the way around, and you'll see something like this. And then the center line would be there. You get the ball, and you just tilt it slightly. But let's say, for example, we turn the ball a little bit, and that's how we can show the direction by drawing only a few simple ovals inside this. These two lines are the vertical and horizontal center lines, which if we look at the form from a front angle, they will seem like this. But now that we have tilted the ball, we see the back planes. And let's assume we're looking down on the sphere. We're gonna get a much bigger oval inside the circle. See how the sphere now is made up of these simple ovals. You can learn how to draw spheres from the link above. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.